Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and today I'm going to go through some of the books I've read this month, some of the decks I've used, and a couple other little bits and pieces. So the first couple books are maybe interesting only to me, but anyway, I read this one, which has the odd title, perhaps, to most people, of Training Disciplined Soldiers for Christ, the Influence of American Fundamentalism on Prairie Bible Institute, and that the only reason I read this is because that's the school that I had the great misfortune of going to for elementary and junior high. So I wanted to read somebody else's take on it, and it was good. It was one of those, okay, I'm not crazy books, because these were all the things that he'd talked about having developed in this small town in rural Alberta that I had either remembered or forgotten, but as soon as he said it, it triggered a memory for me. And yeah, not exactly cheerful reading, but it was interesting. And I'm far enough removed from that past now that I could read this. At one point, I don't think I'd have been able to. The other book that I read that might only be interesting to me because I'm a data analyst is Storytelling with Data, a data visualization guide for business professionals. I'm not really a business professional because I work in a not-for-profit, but close enough. And it's really, really good. It's a really good book about how to communicate data to people who don't want to see just a spreadsheet or a messy chart. So those were interesting. Now, some of the other books I read were Untold Tarot, The Lost Art of Reading Ancient Cards by Caitlin Matthews. It was very good. I've had several places where I think I'll use it as a reference book for reading Marseille, because I'm really not very good at that yet. So it's good. It's not the sort of book, I think, that's easy to read cover to cover, which is basically what I did, but I think I will enjoy it as a reference book. The next book that I read, I actually didn't finish. Sometimes I'll DNF books. I do that more than I used to, but I'd rather not. But if it's not working for me for whatever reason, I just won't force myself to finish it anymore because I have too many other books to read. Can't keep up. And this is Conversations with Plants, The Path Back to Nature. And the reason that I DNF'd it is because it's just a constant stream of medical and scientific claims with absolutely no citations of any kind. I mean, it's constant medical claims, and there are 0 citations. Does she have a bibliography? Hang on. Oh, she has a bibliography, but that's it. No footnotes. A couple pages of bibliography, but none of the claims are cited as far as I could find, and I think I probably got up to about halfway through, and I couldn't do it anymore because it was just so. Now, I love plant folklore, so I don't need everything to be scientifically rigorous unless you're making a medical claim. If you're talking about traditional uses for plants, that's one thing, in which case you don't need the same sort of rigorous footnoting system, I guess. But if you're going to make medical claims or physiological claims or anything like that, it just, you gotta have some sort of documentation backing you up, or I just can't. So anyway, next was, I think this might have been the last video I posted before filming this, but I've read these 2 books by Corinne, which is Cabinet, which I loved, and Dream Divination Plants, which wasn't quite so much for me, but I appreciated it. It was mostly love-related divination, which I could take or leave, so fine. But The Witch's Cabinet is fantastic, and I tabbed so many things that I want to remember about so many plants, and wrote it down in books that I don't have on this table with me, but I talked about them in my witchy devotionals video. So if you want to know more about that sort of, not exactly journaling about these books, but noting things of interest to me that I want to remember. That's those two. And then the last book I read this month, actually, this time I listened to it as an audiobook, and it's Botanical Curses and Poisons, The Shadow Lives of Plants by Fez Inkwright, and it's really good. And it's, I mean, it has more citations than Conversations with Plants, and it's not really making so many medical claims. It's the folklore and the history of poisoning, as you can see. A history of how certain herbs have been used to cure or kill. So just more the history of plants that were used, usually either maliciously or not necessarily maliciously. Can't speak there for a second, but that harmed people all the same. And then the A set of plants is exactly what it sounds like. So water hemlock dropwort, which is the deadliest plant in the area that I live. Yeah, which I actually haven't been able to find where I live. I'd be curious to see it. But anyway, it's a beautiful book. It's really well written. It's got a lot of fun information. And the audiobook was really great to listen to as well. It's just, she's collected a lot of fun stories. I'm saying she, I don't know who Fez Inkwright is, but they've collected a lot of really interesting stories about a lot of plants that have either poisonous qualities or sometimes just connections with death. Like violet's not poisonous, but it does have connections with mourning and death. And so, yeah, that book I really highly enjoyed. Second time I've been through it. I probably won't read it again cover to cover, but I'll use it as a reference and look things up. So I'm glad I've got it. So that's the books for this month, which I think was a fair bit more than last month. So that's good. I'm getting back into my reading groove again, I feel like, after being out of it for a couple of months. And I've also used more decks this month than I did last month. So these first couple are sort of my transition from late summer into fall. It's very definitely fall now, but for a minute there, it was part summer, part fall, where it was, some of the leaves were turning colors, but it was still hot enough to be summery. So, you know, a little bit of each. And so I used both of these. And now that I've sort of packed it in on the deck and walk, I'm still going to finish the book. I'm still working on that, but I'm not spreading out these cards. This is the Tarot Avatara, and this is the Weird of Sarah Howard. Yeah, both by Gabby Angus West, who I love. She's amazing. Her artwork is astonishing. So anyway, now that I'm not putting these all out in certain orders for the deck and walk, each, I don't know, every couple of weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks, I'm actually using it just for fun, not for any particular other purpose. And it's one of my favorite decks ever, and I'm so glad I got it, even though it's a bit, with shipping from Australia, it's a bit on the pricey side. And so yeah, I've been having fun with this as a summer to fall transitional season thing. That was very eloquent, I know. But anyway, I love these. I don't know if I'll keep using them. I might. There are a few other decks I want to work with in the next couple of weeks, so I might tuck this away. The Tarot Avatara in particular, I might pull out again sometime this winter when I need more sunshine in my life, because it does get a bit gray and gloomy and cold in the winter in Alberta. So those two I've been really enjoying. Everything about them is beautiful. The cardstock is beautiful. The gilding on this is beautiful. It's a beautiful tactile experience. I really couldn't possibly say enough good things about both of these, but particularly the Tarot Avatara. One of the other decks I've been using is one that I made for myself as a study deck to both learn herbalism and tarot. So I'll bring it in a bit more so I can read it, and also so you can read it. So I've got plants, the pictures of the plants on one side, the tarot association I've made, any other associations that exist for this plant, and then that might sort of not justify but connect to the reasoning for choosing this tarot association, and then a bunch of traditional herbal uses, some just from generic Western herbals that I've got, and then some specifically from Cree, Métis, Scottish, other more culturally specific herbal teachers. And so yeah, I've been enjoying that. Some of these plants, like goldenrod, I've only collected this year for the first time. And I just collected the leaves. I missed the flowering season because I was just not particularly well. Some of the cards I haven't fully fleshed out yet, but I had them printed anyway because I just wanted to work with this. So there's like that mushrooms one. And then some of the, actually all of the court cards I have associated with certain scenic situations or seeds. In this case, these are calendula seeds, if I'm not mistaken, that I've put for the King of Wands or Seeds of Fire. And then I was sort of viewing the quartz as a coming together of different, particularly the princesses, of coming together of whole ecosystems rather than just one individual plant, which is this bearberry, buffalo berry. Buffalo berry. Don't think I'll harvest any of that this year. I only use it very rarely. I think I still have some from a couple years ago. So most of these plants are also really specific to me. They're local to me. So these are photos I've taken myself, most of them. Flax is native to this area. I'm starting to see it more often, which makes me happy. It was pretty sparse there for a while. These are Canada violets. Wild strawberry, which if you've never had a wild strawberry and you ever have the chance, you should. The taste is like 10 times stronger than a regular store-bought strawberry. It's so much better even than a farmer's market strawberry. There's no comparison. It's astonishing. Love that one. It's also called the heartberry in some indigenous languages. And some of these I'd like to do more research on, but this is, I think, going to be at least a multi-year, if not a lifelong process for me. So, this is one of the few that's not mine because it doesn't grow exactly where I am. One of the few photos that's not mine. So yeah, I did have to find a few photos for things that I cannot grow. But self-heal is wonderful. Dandelions are wonderful. Milk thistle I haven't had the occasion to use a lot, but I may do. I've got a couple tiny jars on my herbalism shelf. So anyway, I've been doing some herbalism study with that, which is an ongoing process. And then the last decks I've been using a lot because they've been out on my work desk, not my office desk, but when I work from home some days of the week, these are out on the desk. And this is the Guardian of the Night Tarot, and then the Urban Crow Oracle, both by N.J. Callaway. And she said some other decks come out recently, and the Raven one looks pretty interesting. Raven Dreams, I think it's called. And allegedly there's a mini crow tarot out there, but I don't think it's available in Canada yet. So yes, these I've been using a bit more. There are not a lot of ravens in my area, but there are a lot of crows. And I haven't read the guidebooks for these yet. That's the next thing that I might do one of these weeks, or who knows. Foxes do live around here. I'm not sure about armadillos. Kind of don't think so. Is that a lion or a mountain lion? We do have mountain lions. Anyway, I wanted to use it intuitively to start out with and just see what associations I made just based on the imagery for myself. But I've heard good things about her guidebooks, so that's a little backwards. This makes me laugh. Raccoons are just, we don't have a lot in Calgary, which probably nobody's complaining about because they're cute, but they're a lot. They're just a lot. But crows are incredible. I like crows, and we do have some of those, and magpies. Quite a lot of magpies in the area. And so yes, so anyway, I've been using it without the guidebook so far, but I may get into the guidebooks at some point here just to find out more specifics about, you know, what specifically some of these animals are and why some choices were made for each of these. But yeah, I didn't use either of these when I first got them. I sort of got them because other people had them and they were mass market. And when I was first getting into this sort of thing, I didn't know if I would stick with it. So they weren't too pricey. But I didn't use them all that much right away. And then they just sort of sat on the shelf over the spring and summer. But they came out again this fall, and I'm kind of happy they did. I've been really enjoying them. I like the warm fall colors, but also the contrast with all the blues and teals and everything. It's just, I don't know. At first I wasn't sure about her style, but it's really growing on me. So yeah, that's the Urban Crow Oracle and the Guardians of the Night Tarot. And who knows, but someday, probably not in the near future, but someday I may get more of her decks. We'll see. And I'm making a mess again. Well, what else is new? Okay. Now I'm just going to quickly show you the little cabinet of curiosities I made. I got this container, which I'm not actually sure what it was originally for at Value Village. And I'd been on the lookout for, I'm not holding the camera very steady here, I apologize, for a cabinet of curiosities sort of shelf, and hadn't found one. So ignore the fact that it's a tiny bit dusty in the corners. I'll do something about that someday. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. It's got mostly stones of different sorts, rocks I've found, little bits of jewelry and things that have significance to me. An acorn. And a little bone up in the top. Yeah, so a seashell. And I may change it up again every now and again. I'm not sure. But for now, I'm really enjoying that. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.